All right. So we're live. I'm just going to give it a couple minutes
Great.
to let people log in since it's 8:01, hopefully. And I just read you were at Comic-Con too in San Diego. So I was like, oh, I wish I went.
It was so much fun. Yeah, San Diego was beautiful. The weather was perfect and the food's amazing. And I love going to Comic-Cons, just everyone being so excited about the things that they love.
Yeah.
It's such a good atmosphere. And I love when people dress up in costume. And there was this dog that was dressed up like its fur was painted so it looked like a Pokemon. It was just the cutest thing. And then there were 3 dachshunds that were dressed as Jedi. I'm drawn to the dogs, I have to admit.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too. I lived in Arizona for 23 years and I never got to go to San Diego Comic-Con. So when I was doing some research, I was like, oh, I wish I was still on the West Coast. I would have gone.
Well, New York Comic-Con's October, and that's a lot of fun too. So
this is true. All right. For those of you joining me, I'm Kristen with Bookish Pen Pals, and I'm here with Sara Beth Durst, and we're going to talk about The Spell Shop, among all her other books as well. I just adore The Spell Shop. When I looked at the cover, I was like, oh, that looks like something I have to read right now, because I was reading some thrillers and I fell in love with it. And I hope that other people that have read it in our group have fallen in love with it as well. So we have a couple people in the chat. Nicole Rubin is actually in my Fable book group too. And she always trusts my suggestions for things. So I'm excited for her to hear about it and to get the book too. So can you tell us a little bit about it for those members who haven't read it yet?
Yes. Well, here it is. This is The Spell Shop. It has lavender edges.
Gorgeous.
It's a cozy fantasy, and it is about a librarian, Keela, who lives and works in the Great Library of Elysium. And she's been there, sequestered there for like 11 years. And then a revolution breaks out in the city. And when the library begins to burn, she gathers up every book that she can save, along with her library assistant and best friend, who is a sentient spider plant named Kaz. And Keela and Kaz sail off to the only place she can think of to go, which is her childhood home, this remote and beautiful island. And they move into the cottage where she grew up, which is kind of abandoned now and overrun with brambles and so forth. And she realizes that in order to survive, she needs to make some money. So she opens up a jam shop that is also a secret illegal spell shop.
I love that. I found it really funny that she was like, nobody will know that I'm here.
Yep. Yeah, she was like, I won't need to talk to anyone. Then it's like, wait, how do I eat? This is a problem.
What do I eat? And she travels back, and it sort of brings us into like the theme really of the book, because it's about found family and trying to find yourself. And I know this is it's considered adult fiction, correct?
Yeah.
But as a teacher and as a mom, I really felt like it would speak to the YAs and the middle grades too. And so that's why I had my daughter Grace read it, and she really, really loved it. And I saw it listed as contemporary romance, and I was like, no,
there are mer horses and random unicorns wandering by and so forth. It's pretty much as much magic and things that make me happy as I could put into the novel. I mean, that's basically how I wrote it. Every single scene, I'd ask myself, what brings me joy? And add it in. And sometimes that was a mer horse, and sometimes it was a really good piece of cheese.
Oh, I love that. So we'll talk about that later, because I always ask authors, like, what are some of your go-tos as you're writing? But what's the writing process look like for a fantasy like this? Because you write across all genres. You've had sci-fi, you've had adult mystery, you've had fantasy, you've had middle grades, picture books. Like, what does that look like for a cozy fantasy? Is there a lot of planning out? Like, does that vary?
Yeah, well, cozy fantasy, I mean, each type of subgenre has a kind of beating heart to it. What one aspect drives it more than anything else. For instance, if you're writing a thriller, it's going to be that plot. that relentless drumbeat of raising the stakes, raising the stakes, raising the danger each time. So that is the beating heart. If you're writing like a book club fiction, it's going to be the theme, the message, all of the metaphor that's going into saying what you're trying to say. If you're writing cozy fantasy, it's the vibe. You want to make a reader feel a certain way, and everything is in service of creating that feeling of sanctuary, of, oh, this is a warm hug. It's a mug of hot chocolate and a cat in your lap and the snow falling gently down as you read this book kind of feel. So everything needs to be in service of that. And it's actually, I absolutely loved writing this book. It was so much fun. Like, it just gave me such joy to write. But it's also technically harder than you would think looking at it. I don't think I could have written cozy fantasy without writing epic fantasy first, because what you're doing is you're unraveling all of the things that you teach yourself as a writer, all of the raising the stakes and upping the conflict and increasing the, you're constantly in a cozy looking for ways to undermine that and unravel that, to chill out while still keeping the pages turning. And the way to do that is, instead of it being high stakes external, it's high stakes internal. It's the emotional resonance rather than the whole save the world.
Right. And you really feel that with the main characters in this book. And we loved Kaz. We thought that was so fun. And Grace and I actually talked about it quite a bit. Like, how is he reading? How is he talking? Like, what's his obsession with goats? Like, how, like, how does he eat? Like, we know that plants need this, and, but he's still like tying up the bad girl, not so bad girl, right? Because it's a cozy fantasy. So there's a little bit of like tension there, but we just loved that. And then of course there's Meep. And being from the desert and him being a cactus, like, that was pretty awesome too. What were some of your favorite characters to write in this book? Like, you just wanted to know them or like be besties with them?
Yeah, I really loved writing Kaz. He was.
We froze. We froze up. We have a connection issue. Nicole, can you see our screen? Did it freeze up on your side? Or is it my connection? Oh, I think it's my connection. Oh no. Oh.
Wait, am I back?
Yeah, I think we froze. Yes.
Froze. Wait, am I back now? I can see you again.
Okay, so I was like asking the chat, I'm like, did I freeze? Did she freeze?
It all went blank, and I'm like, I'm talking, but I don't think
yeah.
I'll try that again.
It happens.
All right, sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
So you were asking about characters, and I think I have to say Kaz, the spider plant. Usually when I create my characters, they grow. They grow through the act of writing, they grow through the act of revision, and it feels kind of like I'm auditioning different personalities. I'm like, all right, let's try you, see how you're, no, next. But with Kaz, I could hear his voice from the very beginning, the very first scene. I knew who he was. And that made him so much fun to write, because I just had that solid core of what the essence of my spider plant was. That he is slightly anxious and incredibly loyal, a really good friend. And, I could see him really clearly as he so he's not like in a pot. He's just got his like root ball that his roots kind of hold the soil, and he propels himself around using the tendrils and the leaves.
Like, how fun. Like,
and this amused me incredibly. So
it's a hard one. I don't know. I think I would just love to watch him for a while,
right?
Like,
yeah,
brilliant. Like, he's just brilliant, like to find the spells and all of these things, right? We loved him. So I hope that we see other books with him. Grace and I talked about that a lot. We're like, is there going to be another one? We want to know what happens next, but That's usually something I ask at the end. um, how long did it take you to write?
I've gotten faster. First off, I write full time. So that makes a big difference.
Right.
But when I first started out, so this is actually my 28th book.
Right.
My first cozy fantasy, but my 28th book overall. When I first started out, it took about 2 years per book. And now it's about 6 months all total, including drafting and all the revisions and so forth. So it's gotten a lot faster. And I think part of the reason is that as you do it, you learn your writing process. You kind of learn what works for you, whether you outline, whether you don't, whether you need music, whether you don't, whether you need long stretches or gaps. And so you start letting go of those writing myths, like the idea that you need a long stretch of time, which no one has. If you're waiting for a long stretch of time, it's not going to come.
So what does that look like for you? Do you lock yourself in your writing space and tell your family you'll be out, in a few months? Or do you,
Not at all, actually. And I have it now, and I really love it this way, actually. And I know it doesn't work for everybody, so totally fine if this doesn't work for you. But I have it woven throughout my normal day. Now I'll wake up, I'll write a few sentences, I'll go get some breakfast, come back, write a little more, go empty the dishwasher, write a little more, see the family. And the way my office is positioned, I'm like gesturing as if you can see where I am. But this is my office. Welcome. There are bookshelves on either side and over there, and that's the closet where all the manuscripts go to die.
Send them over here.
Oh, you don't want to see some of the early ones. Nope. But there's sliding glass doors over here that are onto the living room so that I can be a part of everything that's going on with my family, but still have a dedicated space where I can put my headphones in and do music, and they can be watching TV and doing whatever. And I'm still present, but also being a writer at the same time. And that's worked out really well for me. I don't like it. I don't like separating the writing and the life parts. I think it works best when it's intertwined.
Yeah.
So.
And I think I've seen that in some of your books too, where there's, friendships and loyalty and family and community and making sure those relationships are strong. And even when I was reading The Spy Ring, like it's friends trying to figure this out. And that's really important in this day and age too. So I really love that you're still kind of there with your family.
Yeah.
What was some of the inspiration for this book? Because while it's fantasy, it's so like you can feel that hug. Did it come where are these ideas coming from? Because you have so many books that are just like fan favorites, and you've written a lot of them. So where did those ideas come from?
I try to write, there's that cliched writing advice of write what you know. Totally ignore that.
Dragons and your horses.
Oh yeah.
No, I will be your best friend if that's what you know.
Yeah, no, I really believe, and I try to follow, that you should write what you love. Write the book that you want to find when you walk into a library or a bookstore. That's what motivates me. I try to write the things that I'm passionate about, the things that amuse me, or the things I feel strongly about, what makes me laugh, what makes me feel, what I think is important in the world, which, as you said, has a lot to do with connecting with others and empathy and kindness, that kindness is a power. Kindness is a strength.
And that really comes through in this book as well. She learns that really fast, that everyone's kind and you have to interact with people. And I also loved that food was like an integral part of this community, and kind of drawing her in with cinnamon buns and, even with tomatoes for the mer horses and, the jam. And that was the thing, like, why raspberry jam? While you were writing this, did you find that you were snacking? Are these some of your favorite foods?
Yes.
Is it like a coffee,
like book.
Snack thing, charcuterie board or whatever those, like what was going on there?
This book was fueled by hot chocolate, cheese, and raspberry jam from the local farmer's market. So
that's fantastic. What kind of cheese?
My current favorite right now is aged Gouda, like the kind that has those little crystals in it. So good.
Does each book have like a different motivating food as you're writing them?
I pretty consistently consume a fair amount of chocolate when I write. That's definitely a go-to muse. This book, however, it really does have more food descriptions than anything I've ever written. And part of it was it's a thematic choice in that Keela is learning to live in the moment, to enjoy the joys of being alive. And part of that is feeling the breeze on your face, the sun on your cheeks, and tasting the food that you're eating and deriving joy from that moment, and that sensory pleasure being something that's just so very important to enjoying the moment. So there was that thematic thing, and then there was the coziness of it, that it's something that makes me happy. I really like eating.
Yeah, even during the scenes where, like, you know, their search, I don't want to give away any kind of spoilers because I know there's some people watching that have it coming or haven't read it, but there's like a scene where they think there's, you know, somebody who's after her, and that's not the case. But you know, there's this whole, here, have a cinnamon bun here, you know, like, we're not out to get you, and we're going to help you. And there's that whole like friendship thing around it, which is really, really sweet. And I really loved that. What were some of your favorite books as a child? Because if you're writing what you love, you must have read a lot as a child and had some very favorite fantasy books.
Yeah, nonstop and almost exclusively fantasy. I mean, I'm just like looking at my shelves now, and it's pretty much all like girl with dragon, girl with talking cat, girl with sword. Like there's a theme going on in this room. I think my all-time favorite is Tamara Pierce. Love her. And Diana Wynne Jones and Diane Wayne and Bruce Coville and Mercedes Lackey and Anne McCaffrey, and basically anything where you get a talking animal sidekick. So,
definitely. I wish we could have one in real life. Like dogs are close to that, I think. Sometimes bearded dragons too, because they actually have a personality. We have one, but dogs, like, they have these little thought bubbles, you know.
That's adorable.
Did you always want to be a writer?
Yes, the only thing I've ever wanted to do. And I always thought books are magic. You know, they've got the power to transport you, make you think and feel and laugh and cry, and to carry these characters that don't exist, to carry them close to your heart forever. I always wanted to be part of that magic.
Yeah. Do you ever leave your office and wonder, hey, where did she go? Wait a minute, where's Kaz? Like, because do you ever get wrapped up so much in your writing you feel like they should be in your house somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, my job is to make up imaginary friends and then hang out with them all day.
Yeah, which is kind of like that movie If, right?
Right. But the hard part, I actually don't like when I finish a book. I mean, it's nice. You're like, oh, yay, I'm done. Yay, me. But like, aside from that, like momentary, like, phew, I made my deadline. It's sad because you create these characters, you fall in love with them, and you live with them in their world for however many months it takes to write. And then you have to say goodbye and let them go.
That has to be like so difficult with standalone books. Like series, I mean, you get to live with them for a while, but at some point a series has to end as well.
Yeah, I did one trilogy, and it was so nice not to have to say goodbye. I mean, except for the ones that I killed off. They had to say goodbye. But I do love writing standalones. I mean, there's just something very satisfying about writing a complete journey for a character in one go.
How do you like distinguish, like, you've had 2 books come out this year, because you had The Spy Ring was out, I think, in May, right? And then you had The Spell Shop come out in July. Like, how does that work? Do your characters ever like cross over where you're working on something and then you're working on another project at the same time and you're like, oh wait, wrong story? Like,
it is an issue. I actually had 3 come out this year. This was a very busy year. In April, The Lies Among Us, which is a book. Yeah, that one's book club fiction, and it's about sisterhood and grief. It's very different from like all 3 of these books are drastically different,
right?
But they're all still me. I can really only work at one at a time because of what you said, because each book has its own music. You know, the rhythm of the sentences, the flow of the voices, the how you construct, how you build the world and the pacing. It's got its own song to it. And I can only live in one song at a time. So when I switch between them, there's always at least kind of a week where I'm shifting gears and finding the heart of the next book. So I try to like set aside a couple months to work on one. And then when I turn it into my editor, then I shift the gears and work on the next thing for a couple months. And I have a whole spreadsheet of when I have to turn in things and like that sort of thing to keep it all organized.
I actually just ordered that other book today because I was like, oh, wait a minute. I haven't read this. So I actually just ordered it. It'll be here tomorrow.
Excellent. Excellent. I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, that one, it's about a woman who doesn't exist. She's the main character.
That's interesting. We'll have to talk about that again when I read it.
Yeah, I'm afraid to tell you more because I don't want it to be spoilers. But
spoilers. How much did fairy tales influence your writing?
Huge, absolutely huge. I mean, some of my earliest memories of reading are like our fairy tales and gorgeous illustrated books that I would have. That my mom would read to me and that I'd read. And then, of course, I'm a huge Disney fan. I've seen all the Disney movies many, many times from a very, very young age. So fairy tales absolutely have a huge impact on me. And one of the things I love about them is how malleable they are. And the fairy tales themselves, if you read like a, Grimm's version or whatever, they're very, I want to say empty. The characters don't have motivation. Yeah. A lot of things are unexplained. There's disjointed elements in the tales. And I love that there's room to fill it in and to have your own spin on it and to interpret it for any age and any way you'd like. So
what's one of your favorite fairy tales?
I love Beauty and the Beast because, two reasons. One, I feel like it's one of the few fairy tales where they become friends first before they fall in love. And I always love that. But the second in one of my favorite books is Beauty by Robin McKinley. And the element that I love in that is also picked up in the Disney movie where he gives her a library.
Yeah.
And I just think that's the best present ever. Yeah.
I think that's like our goal as readers, as we become adults. It's not hoarding, it's library building.
Yes.
Like you automatically become a librarian once you own more than 50, especially if they're pretty. And yeah, her library is gorgeous. And I think we all love that.
Yeah.
My goal now is to have one of those library ladders.
Oh, yes. I know. I want those. Those are amazing.
I would probably never climb on it, but I still would love one. Like that to me is the epitome of like cozy book reading.
Absolutely. Just like with one step on it and you sail across it with your skirt flowing out and like
singing.
Yeah, singing, which would be a terrible idea because I'm completely clumsy and also can't sing. So
Same. My children would be like, what is happening? Although my students might like that. They like that craziness. Oh, that's funny. So I want to talk about the Spy Ring for a few minutes. And for those of you who are listening or watching, the Spy Ring is middle grades book. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because as a teacher, I love the historical aspect. So I want to talk about that a little bit too.
Yeah, Spy Ring. Oh, good. Thank you. Because mine is like over there. Spy Ring is completely different from Spell Shop. For one thing, it is not fantasy. It's one of the only books I've written that isn't fantasy. And it is about two kids. It's set in modern day times. Two kids who go on this treasure hunt adventure in their hometown and uncover the secrets of Anna Smith Strong, who was America's first female spy. She was part of George Washington's Culper Spy Ring, which is based right where I am, which is why I wrote it.
Fantastic. I was going to say, is that based on where you live in New York?
Yeah, it is. I was playing Pokemon Go with my son.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if you've ever played that game, but
I have.
Pokestops, one of the ways that the game decides where to put Pokestops is it puts them at historical markers.
Ah.
So we're like going around playing, and I just start reading all these historical markers, and I start thinking, something really cool happened here. Someone should write a book about that. And then like much later, it hit me, oh, wait, I live here. I'm a writer. I should really do that. So I did.
how much research went into it?
Oh, a ton of research, and I adore research, so it very much thrilled the nerd in me. And it was so nice to do research here where it happened, because like the local library, the Emma Clark Library, has this whole local collection where it has things that aren't really published, that were just like pamphlets from the day, and local family stories that had been written up and all that sort of thing. And to be able to retrace all of the steps, and got to know the Historical Society here very, very well, and bothered them with many, many questions. They were very, very kind. Because I wanted it. I mean, it's geared. It's geared for kids that want to learn more about the American Revolutionary War and to have that kind of insight. So what I did was I did a ton of research. And then I had the characters, I created this fictional treasure hunt that they went on, where each step of it would uncover another piece of the story, so that they're learning the story while they're solving the mystery. It was really fun to write.
So as a teacher that taught American Revolution, that's a third grade standard in Massachusetts, and they don't get it again. They used to get it in fifth. They don't get it again now until middle school, high school. Mm-hmm. So that made me really sad. So I always spend extra time on that Revolution unit. And I loved this because I love the histories mysteries that the Library of Congress has, where they learn about women in the American Revolution, because often kids think that it was only men. And so this book is like perfect for third and fourth grade classrooms, because it is teaching that part of it. You know, here's this woman that, you know, was part of George Washington's spy ring. Of course, this book just came out, and I taught Revolution up till June. And so I'm really excited to get back in the classroom in a couple weeks and be like,
great.
Guess what? This is right up your alley. And have them read about it, because they do know that women fought in the Revolution. I could see, because I just loved this, I could see, and I hope that you do it, those different aspects of the Revolution where it's extraordinary characters for us teachers to use in our classrooms, because it's such a fun way for kids to learn history without just us talking about it. So they get to read all those little things too, because sometimes we have to whiz through things. So I would love to see that as a series.
Yeah, it really is. I'm hoping lots of teachers find it and bring it into the classroom, because that's what it's designed for, is to tell a story in a way that will hopefully stick, because you're seeing it through the eyes of these characters. I also got to do a really big author's note at the end, which was super fun, where I get to talk about what's fictional and what's real, and how history is all around for everyone.
Yeah. And I mean, we're lucky to be on the East Coast where the Revolution happened, you know? So I always tell the kids, like, you're in the best place. Like, there's so much to see, whether you're in Boston or New York, like it's everywhere here. So that's really exciting. So I'm really thrilled. I'm going to buy multiple copies, so that way we can do it in reading groups. So I'm emailing you and saying, hey, you want to come talk to the class? That might be fun. So tell us about your next project, because I know it's called The Warbler, which I have all these. I tried not to read a whole lot about it when I was doing research, because I have my own ideas in my head what that word means. So I would love for you to tell us a little bit about that one.
Absolutely. Yeah. So The Warbler, it's coming out, I want to say February. And it's a book club fiction with a speculative edge. So I don't consider it fantasy, because you're not sure if the magic is real. And this one is about choices and curses, how one person's choice can be someone else's curse. And it's about a woman who can't stay anywhere. She believes that she is cursed, that if she stays anywhere, she will grow roots and transform into a tree. So she has to keep moving. And then she comes to a town in Massachusetts where she can't leave.
Salem? No. Well, you know, right away, I'm thinking, well, I know that a lot of us feel that way sometimes.
Yeah, it's about that pull of do I stay or do I go? You know,
right? Which I think we all can relate to at some point. So this is a pen pal group, and we just, we're lucky that our founder like incorporated books into it. We talk books constantly, but the biggest thing is that it's pen pal writing, which is fantastic as an adult, because you find lots of friends there. So what's always fun for us is writing that introduction letter, because you have to decide, like, what am I going to put in here for this person to know about me? So I love asking our authors, at the end of talks, what would your character say? So I want to do two for you. What do you think Kaz's introduction letter would say?
That's such a good question. I mean, I think he'd talk about the jam shop, and I think he would talk about the library that he came to be in and his love for books. And I'm not sure that he would mention right away that he's a spider plant, because he's perfectly comfortable with that.
Right.
So I think that that's just a given, and it might come out through how he talks about himself that he doesn't actually have a mouth and an eyes. He is a plant, and he has leaves, and many, many tendrils for grabbing things. So I think he would talk about the things that he loves and the people that he loves first and foremost.
I would love that. And what about Keela?
Keela, I think she wouldn't write the letter at all. I think she's like, I have enough people. Leave me with my books. That's lovely, but no. So
I love that. You're the second author I've talked to this month that has said that about their main
really?
character. Yeah. Either, like super introverted, or just, like just want to kill everybody character.
Yeah. Keela, the line in the book that I think sums her up was, it wasn't that she didn't like people, it was only that she liked books more. And I think that is how she would describe herself.
I think we can all like relate to that a little bit. So is Spell Shop going to be a standalone?
I actually just turned in this morning. It is not a sequel, but it is another standalone that is set in the same world. It's called The Enchanted Greenhouse, and it'll be out next summer.
Same characters?
And different characters, but the same world, and a truly excessive number of talking plants.
Oh, this is going to be great. I love that. Is it cozy fantasy too?
It is very cozy. Yes, it's very cozy. There is definitely a lot of eating things going on.
Oh, I'm excited about that. We really did enjoy the book, and I'm excited to read that. Grace's eyes got really big. Typically she's all about romance, and she was sucked in so quickly, and that to me, it means the world to me that there's writers like you that are going to draw kids in to these stories and have them care about it so much and see those themes and love them so much. So I just want to thank you so much for coming on and telling us about your book and your projects, because I adore them. So I actually ordered a whole bunch more.
Yay. Oh, thank you so much.
Like, well, what else can we read? Because I really liked that. And I'm like, well,
I have a few more.
You have a lot more.
Yeah. If anybody's interested, on my website, I have, all my books are on there, obviously, but I have the first chapter from every book on there on the excerpts page. So you can see like what kind of book you're in the mood for.
Yeah, that's awesome. And your website lists all of the books too, which is really great. I like that a lot. Well, thank you so much, Sara, for coming on and talking to us. I had a great time, and I absolutely adore the books. I cannot wait for your next ones to come out.
Thank you so much. It was so fun talking with you. Thanks so much for having me here.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone.
Yes, thanks for listening.